G'day everyone, welcome back to Spuds Games. Today's video we're going to be running through this little 14-inch monitor. It's a Panasonic BT-H1490YN. Let's go. So let's take a look at some specifications before we get right into it. So it is a little 14-inch monitor to start with. It's manufactured by Panasonic, and the dot pitch on this is 0.28 millimeters, which is quite fine. It's not quite the high resolution fine pitches of the Trinitrons, but it's certainly acceptable. Another thing to point out is the 750 TVL lines, which is quite a high resolution for a little monitor like this. And then we've got the inputs over here. So we do have RGB, we have S-video, we have composite, and we also have component. Okay, so let's have a look at our front panel to start with. We've got volume, phase, chroma, brightness, and contrast. We've got some selectable buttons up here. Then we've got our video inputs A and B. And then if you've got A and B, you also can select S-video by pressing the YC. We've got RGB component. They share the same terminals. And then we've got external sync if we're using an external sync as well. And then we've got our menu buttons over here. So let's quickly, while I'm at the front panel here, let's run through how to get in the service manual. Now, essentially there's a series of buttons you've got to press. So while holding enter, I won't do it now. I'll tell you what to do, then I'll do it because you have to do it quite quickly. And if I try and describe it while I'm doing it, chances are it'll take too long and I'll have to keep doing it. So what I'll do is you hold the enter button. While holding the enter button, you press degauss, which will come up with a little S. While holding the enter button still, you press menu, which will come up with a warning in the middle of the screen. And then let go of the enter button and just press across on this little crosshair button selection here. So we've got up, down, left, and right. So what I'll do is that code. So we hold enter, quickly press degauss. There's the S. There's the warning you see there. And then across, which brings us into the service menu. Most people will be interested in the deflection block. So once you've selected there, there's several things you can adjust in here. But deflection block does all your geometry. So you just press enter. It brings up this code down the bottom. Now you'll have to refer to the service menu to get that code of what it means, because there's different settings for PAL, there's different settings for NTSC. So all the geometry settings, you can actually set individual settings for both PAL and NTSC. To get out of the service menu, just press enter, menu, and menu again. And that takes you back. Now there's no save button. So once you press menu and get out of it, all the changes you made will be automatically saved. And then you don't have to worry about it after that. There is no save button. Okay, so let's take a look at the back panel now. We've got our video inputs over here, A and B. You'll notice everything has a loop through as well. So whatever you bring in, you can also take out, just depending on the switches you've got here. So as I said, A and B, they've got our external sync down here, which is in relation to your RGB terminals, which are over here. These are shared with component. So you've got RGB external sync or just straight out component. You just select that in the service menu. So when you go to the service menu for your RGB inputs, you can select RGB or component. So if you have a purple hue in RGB, generally it means probably because you've got the component selected over RGB. Then up here we've got our S-video in and out, and then we've got our audio, our single channel audio, which is also in and out. Now you have to be careful, you sort of have to follow the diagram here. So your RGB component is this set of sound terminals. You've got your composite, which is over here, share the top terminals, and then your S-video is those middle set of terminals. Just make sure if you are looping and looping out that you are terminating or non-terminating those 75 ohm terminations. Otherwise you won't get a good loop in, loop out picture. So now I've got the back off, let's take a look inside. And as you would expect with most broadcast monitors, it's quite packed in there, full of a lot of componentry. Now, one thing you might notice, if I'll just zoom in here, you see JVC written on that little cap there, just back from the yoke. And you'll also notice, if you do open one of these up, there's a lot of giveaways, especially on things like, if I look at this PCB down here, you'll see JVC. So this is, no doubt, a JVC monitor. And you may have noticed from the service menu, the sequence that I did there is the same as what you do in a JVC broadcast monitor. So essentially this Panasonic monitor is just a rebadged JVC monitor. Might not be rebadged, but it does use all JVC components in regards to PCBs, etc. Now I'll see if I can get down here. It is one of those Changhua tubes, and I can't really zoom in here down there because it's quite packed, but it is a Changhua, I think that's how you pronounce it, tube, which is also common with JVC tubes, JVC monitors as well. Now interesting, Panasonic monitor don't use Panasonic tubes, which seems funny to me. But all in all, really clean. So just before we finish up the video, I thought I'd just do some setting changes within the service menu to show you guys, I suppose, what it does. Now I can see on my computer screen the settings to do, but essentially if we just go into the service menu, so press menu to gas, and then across. Now we go down to the deflection block, press enter, and we come up with these codes. So this is D01. What we want to do is we want to make sure we're in the 60 Hertz section of the service menu. And for instance, if I wanted to change the horizontal size, I know that will be D05. So I'll just move down till I find D05. And this should move horizontally in and out, which you can see there. So I'll just put that back to where it's supposed to be. And I think D06, for instance, would be where the position is, the horizontal position. You can see that moving. And then if I wanted to change the vertical size and the vertical shift in 60 Hertz, I think that's D01 from memory. So I'll just go back to D01, and you can see the vertical size move, the size going in and out. I think 2 is the position. So, oops, go back. Let's go to the position. So we want to go back to D02, then we go back to D01, probably about there, maybe just go up a little bit. About there is just about right. Now I will say, looking at this really closely, just where the squares align, this tube does need the slightest of turns, but it doesn't worry me, so I'm not really going to do it. I'm not going to risk damaging anything. The other thing to notice here, and I'll see if I can zoom in while I'm doing this. So if I just bring it in, I don't know how well this will pick it up. So if I can pick a spot on the screen, for instance, nice and close. Now this could be because the tube's just tied. So I was already locked into something, you'll see there, that I like for my setup. But for instance, if I was just doing this willy-nilly, you'll see here, if I turn the brightness up and the contrast up, the resolution goes really, I suppose there's nothing there. This line here, you can't see any real scan lines. So turn the brightness down a little bit, turn the contrast down, and they come back. Now with high quality Trinitrons, I don't usually find that happening, but on this one it does. So I'll just plug back into where I was happy, which was there. And yeah, so that's the only thing I've noticed with this tube, is if that brightness and contrast start getting a bit high, it starts losing that, I suppose, really crisp resolution, and it starts becoming a little bit blurry. So let's go back over a few things with this monitor. One is the resolution, 750 TVL. That's pretty high for a 14-inch monitor, and it does give a really good picture. This tube may be a little bit tired, but even with a tired tube, just adjust the settings a little bit and you get a really crisp, sharp image. Another thing to note is this is essentially a JVC monitor. It is badged Panasonic, obviously, but the chassis, the service menu structure, everything is JVC. So if you're familiar with JVC broadcast monitors, then you'll have a breeze going through the service menu for this one because it's exactly the same setup. Another good, I suppose, aspect of this CRT is the inputs, the composite, the S-video, the RGB, and the component. You get all those. You get loop in, loop out on all of them, and you also have a speaker at the front. So a lot of monitors don't have a speaker. This one does, which is a huge advantage. So the purpose of this video, if you're like me and you go to pick up one of these monitors or any monitor, the first thing you do is jump on Google and find out all the specifications. Sometimes the service manual's available, sometimes it's not. So the more I can do of these videos, you just jump on SPUDS Games and hopefully I've done a review on it or I've looked at it and you guys can see exactly what that monitor's about. So this one I don't exactly see every day, so I thought, you know what, if someone else comes across it, they're probably going to want to know about it. And therefore they can jump on, have a quick look at it, see the inputs, see the resolution, and make their decision from there. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, I'll see you then.